What's going to end your grappling career first? A high-flying throw that sends you spiraling into the mat? An explosive double-leg takedown that drives your shoulder into the ground? Or a slow, grinding heel hook that shreds the ligaments in your knee? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is often called the gentle art, but a growing chorus of practitioners are finding themselves on the shelf with chronic, nagging injuries. So, is it actually more dangerous than the spectacular throws of judo or the grueling breakneck pace of wrestling? This debate has been raging in gyms and forums for years, mostly fueled by locker room stories and personal anecdotes. But today, we're going past the gym lore. We're going to investigate the claim that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the most dangerous grappling art for your body. By putting BJJ's injury stats head-to-head with wrestling and judo, we're going to get to the truth and reveal which art is most likely to leave you on the sidelines. The case against judo, the art of catastrophic impact. When you picture a martial arts injury, you're probably imagining something from judo. The classic image is a spectacular high-amplitude throw where one person uses their opponent's momentum to launch them through the air before they collide violently with the mat. In judo, gravity is a weapon, and the whole point of the standing game is to hit your opponent with the planet for an ippon, an instant win. This philosophy of decisive, powerful throws is exactly what makes judo a top suspect for the most dangerous grappling art. The injuries here aren't usually subtle. They're acute, traumatic, and can be instantly career-ending. We're talking about concussions from a bad fall, where the back of your head whips into the mat. We're talking about separated AC joints and broken collarbones when you make the mistake of posting an arm to stop a throw, and your opponent's entire body weight comes crashing down on it. The knees are another huge target. The very nature of many judo throws involves sweeping or reaping an opponent's legs. A weird twist or a foot planted at the wrong angle during a powerful uchimata or osotogari can cause catastrophic ligament tears. The dreaded ACL, MCL, and meniscus injuries that need surgery and months, if not years, of rehab. Anecdotally, the community is full of stories of veteran judoka, men and women in their 40s and 50s, who move with a permanent limp, who've had knees replaced, whose shoulders are a roadmap of surgical scars. The training designed to prevent all this, ukemi or break falling, is a skill that takes years to master. For beginners, the fear of being thrown is real, and their instinct to tense up is exactly what causes injuries. Even for pros, the intensity is so high that they have to resist being thrown with everything they've got, leading to awkward landings and joints absorbing forces they were never meant to handle. The goal is always to land safely, but in the heat of competition, that's a luxury you often don't have. And when it goes wrong in judo, it can go catastrophically wrong. The case against wrestling, a symphony of explosive violence. If judo is the art of catastrophic impact, wrestling is the art of relentless attrition, punctuated by moments of pure explosive violence. There's nothing gentle about it. It's arguably the most physically punishing of the three. A wrestling match is a 6-minute. Studies on collegiate wrestlers consistently show the knee is one of the most frequently injured body parts, with some research showing injury rates as high as 30.7 injuries per 1,000 athlete exposures. Then you have the injuries unique to the wrestling grind. The constant head fighting leads to cauliflower ear, a visual badge of honor that's actually a permanent disfigurement from repeated trauma. More seriously, the posture and force of takedowns put the neck and spine at huge risk. Neck sprains and herniated discs are known occupational hazards for wrestlers. While a single wrestling injury might not be as cinematic as a big judo throw, the sheer volume and repetitive nature of these high-velocity impacts make a powerful case. It's a sport that wears a body down with a nasty combination of acute trauma and chronic overuse. The case against Jiu-Jitsu, the gentle art of tearing you apart slowly. And that brings us to the main event. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the gentle art. The name itself suggests a safer path. There are no high-impact throws as a primary goal, and there's no striking. The point is to use leverage and technique to submit an opponent with joint locks or chokes. It seems like the obvious choice for longevity. But talk to any BJJ player who's been training for 5 years or more, and you'll hear a different story. You'll hear about the bad shoulder, the trick knee, the fingers that don't quite straighten, and the rib pain that never seems to leave. The case against Jiu-Jitsu isn't about explosive trauma, but a slow, creeping, and cumulative breakdown of the body. The danger in BJJ is baked into its core methodology, isolating and manipulating individual joints. While a choke just makes you take a quick nap if you don't tap, a joint lock works by threatening to hyperextend or break a joint. The very act of training involves repeatedly bringing your partner's limbs to the breaking point and them doing the same to you. This is where the ego becomes the most dangerous thing on the mat. Tapping is a sign of intelligence, but many people, especially newer ones, will try to tough their way out of a submission they don't get. They don't realize that by the time they feel serious pain from a heel hook or a kimura, the damage, a torn ligament or a shredded tendon, is already done. And the data is starting to tell this story. While some older studies showed very high numbers, more recent research from 2024 and 2025 gives us a clearer picture. One study found an injury incidence of 5.5 injuries per 1,000 hours of training and 55.9 per 1,000 matches in competition. Other studies show that the prevalence of injuries is high, with some finding anywhere from 59% to over 85% of practitioners getting hurt over various time frames. But what's really telling is when these injuries happen. In a huge contrast to other combat sports, recent studies show a staggering 79% to over 90% of all BJJ injuries happen not in competition, but during regular training in the gym, mostly during sparring. That means the gentle art is quietly breaking people down in the very place they're supposed to be learning safely. The danger in Jiu-Jitsu isn't a single violent explosion, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. A slow dismantling of your joints over years of training, leaving you with chronic pain. We've heard the case against all three: Judo's high-impact throws, wrestling's non-stop grind, and Jiu-Jitsu's joint-destroying submissions. Before we look at the final data and give our verdict, we want to hear from you. In the comments below, tell us, which grappling art do you train, and what's the worst injury you've ever had or seen? Your story is a part of this conversation. The evidence, what the numbers actually say. For years, this debate was all about feelings and stories, but a growing body of research is finally painting a clearer, data-driven picture. And when we put the numbers side by side, some surprising things pop up. Let's start with the most intense setting: competition. One landmark analysis looking at 3 Olympic Games compared judo, boxing, taekwondo, and wrestling. The results were clear. Judo had the highest injury rate, with 9.6 injuries per 1,000 minutes of competition. In a stunning contrast, wrestling had the lowest rate, at just 4.8, half that of judo. So at the elite level, the data shows judo is significantly more dangerous than wrestling. But where does BJJ fit in? Since it's not an Olympic sport, we turn to other studies. Research consistently shows BJJ competition injury rates are lower than those in judo and often wrestling. For example, different studies have reported rates like 9.2 to 24.9 or 31.8 injuries per 1,000 exposures for BJJ. Compare that to wrestling, which can reach 30.7, and especially judo, where competition rates have been reported as high as 130.6 per 1,000 exposures. Based on competition data alone, the verdict seems obvious. BJJ is the safest, and Judo is the most dangerous. But this is where we have to bring in one of the most powerful stories in this entire debate, Travis Stevens. Stevens is a unique beast, a three-time Judo Olympian who won a silver medal in 2016, and he's also a decorated BJJ black belt under the legendary John Danaher. In interviews, Stevens has detailed the horrifying list of injuries from his Judo career: herniated discs, a fractured back, broken bones, and a knee so badly damaged he had to learn to walk again. His body is a living testament to the brutal toll of elite Judo. And his injuries in BJJ, he says point blank that he has never had a single serious injury in Jiu-Jitsu. He chalks it up to the difference in intensity. For him, BJJ was a game, while Judo was a war. This personal account from one of the few people to compete at the highest level of both is a powerful example of what the data suggests. The nature of elite Judo competition is a uniquely hazardous place for the human body. Analysis and nuance beyond the numbers. If the competition data says BJJ is safest, why are so many Jiu-Jitsu practitioners walking around like they've been in a car wreck? This is where we need to look past the numbers and into the nuance. The key is understanding the difference between acute versus chronic injuries and competition versus training. Judo is the undisputed king of the acute catastrophic injury. The rules, which reward a perfect high-impact throw with an instant win, encourage athletes to put everything they have into both throwing and resisting throws. This creates a scenario where the risk of a severe time-loss injury is incredibly high in competition. A study on Olympic combat sports found that in Judo, almost 36% of injuries resulted in more than 7 days away from the sport. So, if your definition of most dangerous is most likely to cause a single dramatic injury that ends your tournament, the evidence points squarely at Judo. Wrestling sits in a middle ground. It definitely has its share of acute injuries from high-velocity takedowns, but it's also a sport of grinding, where the insane volume of high-intensity practices leads to major wear and tear over time. Studies highlight the high prevalence of sprains and strains, injuries that might not be career enders on their own, but pile up over a season. Now we come back to Jiu-Jitsu. While its competition injury rate is low, remember that shocking statistic. Over 79% of BJJ injuries happen in day-to-day training. This is the polar opposite of Judo, where injuries are far more common in competition. BJJ's danger isn't that one moment of impact, it's the thousands of repetitions of joint manipulation over a decade. Think of it this way: a Judo career is like driving in a Formula One race. You're mostly fine, but the risk of a single fiery crash is always there. A BJJ career, on the other hand, is like being a long-haul truck driver. The risk of one catastrophic event is lower, but the years of sitting in one position and the constant repetitive strain slowly break down your body, leading to chronic back pain and worn-out joints. You are statistically less likely to get carted off the mats on a stretcher in a BJJ tournament. However, you are arguably more likely to develop chronic, life-altering joint pain from years of regular training. The gentle art spares you from violent impact, but wages a methodical, grinding war on your connective tissues. So, after digging through the data and the stories, it's time to answer the question: which art is most likely to leave you on the sidelines? The truth is, the answer completely depends on how you define sidelined. If you're asking, which art has the highest risk of a single traumatic injury in competition that could end my career in a flash? The data is clear. The answer is Judo. Its focus on high-impact throws makes it the leader in catastrophic competition injuries. However, if you're asking, which art is most likely to slowly grind me down with chronic joint injuries? leading to persistent pain that forces me to quit or change how I live. A very strong case can be made for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The constant stress on your joints from thousands of submission attempts creates a unique path to long-term attritional damage. And what about wrestling? Wrestling is the brutal intersection of both worlds. It combines the acute injury risk of takedowns with a grueling training culture that leads to massive chronic wear and tear, making it a powerful contender for the most physically destructive path overall. So, what's the final verdict? For a sudden, catastrophic injury, Judo takes the unfortunate crown. For a slow, chronic breakdown of your joints, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the silent killer. For the highest overall volume of punishment, combining both risks, wrestling is a relentless machine. The controversy exists because each art attacks the body in a different way. The question isn't just which is most dangerous, but what kind of danger are you willing to live with? We've laid out the evidence, but we want to know what you think. Based on this breakdown and your own experience, which art poses the greatest long-term risk? And more importantly, what's the best piece of advice you'd give a beginner to stay injury-free? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, train hard, but train smart.